What's going on, y'all? Give me 1 second here.
Hello, hello.
What's going on? How are y'all?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Doing well, doing well. Beautiful day.
Actually, it's pretty gloomy on my side. It's like raining and cold, and I'm in Texas, so it's a little bit odd, but yeah, nice day.
Are you going to go to Consensus in Austin?
Thinking about it, definitely going to hit up NFT NYC, and then also um, I think like Solana does something in Austin like every April, or March or something. So I'll check it out.
Awesome.
So I think what we'll do is we'll probably just give it like a minute or two, and then we'll just hop right into the space. Pretty excited for this one.
Hey, how are you today?
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
All good, all good. I've heard part of your conversation. You mentioned Austin when I joined.
I did. Yes, I'm in Austin, Texas.
I will fly there in approximately 2 weeks from now for the consensus.
Nice. Yeah, I have a couple friends that are actually going, and I think it sounded pretty cool whenever one of my friends was explaining it to me. So I'd be really hyped to go there, to be honest.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest conferences. I think it's worth going if you're already in Texas. I mean, I don't know where you're at, but it's like a pretty good time, in my opinion.
I've been to consensus 2017 and 2018. They were pretty cool. I haven't been in the previous one in Texas, but I assume that it's gonna be cool as well.
Yeah, like and to answer, yeah, I am in Austin, so it'd probably make a lot of sense for me to just go, right? So that'd be pretty cool. It looks like we can go ahead and start, y'all. First of all, thank everybody for coming. This is a multi-chain space where we're just going to be kind of talking to a lot of the ecosystem leaders in this department, and really excited to just get this started off. First of all, Logan, Milan, how are you guys doing today?
Doing well. It's here in Miami, sunny, warm, a little bit breezy. So enjoying my morning, drinking a little bit of coffee.
Hi
Yep, pretty
everyone.
much. Hey,
Tuning
Veronica.
from tuning from Singapore. It's pretty all black and dark out there. It's by midnight. It's great to meet everyone out here.
Great to meet as well. And thanks, Light, for organizing this one. Likewise, pretty much New York is looking like Miami today, 70 degrees and sunny outside. And nice to have Andre as well. It's been a long time. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. I'm sort of, in between of your time zones. I'm in Portugal right now, so it is like midday, like afternoon for me right now.
It sounds like everybody's all around the world. I'm in Puerto Rico right now, and this is like a good representation of crypto.
Yeah, I like the geographic of the guests here. Exciting.
Yeah, it looks like we're pretty much everywhere. So this is going to be really interesting. Um, yeah, I mean, if we want to really just hop right into it, I'm really curious to see, you know, or for everyone to kind of talk about what they're building and how it supports a multi-chain future. So we could really just start off with Nexa, and then we can go to SafeBound Allbridge.
Sounds good. Hey guys, by the way, my name is Dave, so I am on the Nexa account. So anyways, yeah, I'd love to introduce Nexa. So Nexa is a decentralized protocol that helps projects take their tokens or NFTs cross-chain at any stage. We've created a new token standard that we call Chain Agnostic Token, so CAT as an abbreviation, where tokens are native and fungible across multiple blockchains. And we have 3 core products. The first is Cat Mint, which is an interface that allows for tokens and NFTs to become native on multiple chains in minutes. All it takes is just, as I said, a few minutes for you to fill out the information. All a user has to do is plug in their token address, choose the chains they want to be on, and approve the contracts to be deployed on each chain. And what's special about this is that, and what separates us from other cross-chain projects is that our contracts allow projects to go completely native on multiple chains with a burn and mint function when you're first minting your tokens. And the token supply exists dynamically across all chains. You don't have to, set a number across, XYZ chain. And projects who want to launch with us first, they can actually just launch on one chain to begin, and it makes it seamless for them to go to another chain and expand to new chains in the future because their token contracts are already native to those chains. And it's important to note that using Nexa, the tokens are native and they're issued by the project itself. They're not wrapped assets. The second product that we have is the CAT bridge, which is a bridge that can be used to migrate tokens between chains. That's used for minting. It's used after minting has happened on each chain. And then the final is our Cat Sale, which is a sale platform where projects can launch their tokens or NFTs on multiple chains with one sale without end users having to bridge funds. And we built this already, and we're shipping. It's already shipped to mainnet in January, and we're looking for new projects to go cross-chain from day one. So that's a little bit what we're doing.
It's David, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So what? And just like for my knowledge as well, like what's your role like inside of Nexa?
Yep, I work with BD and marketing.
Awesome, very cool. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I definitely had a question. If anyone, does, please go ahead. But so I think it was pretty interesting. So you said someone would be able to essentially launch on one chain and then seamlessly be able to do it on multiple others. I guess what would that process like exactly look like? And when it comes to your audience or market fit, like who are you guys really doing this for? Is it for like people that just want to be multi-chain, or is it a specific other audience?
Yeah. So the first question is like, what would it look like if a project launched on one chain initially? It's really just like any other project where, most projects typically want to just launch on one chain because, they want to just see how everything goes, see the user demand, figure out what the demand is like and what their community wants. And what it would look like for us is it's the same process, except if you deploy on Nexa, you're going to be able to have your token move to pretty much whatever chain that you want using our CAT bridge. And the tokens, as I said, the token supply will be seamless and dynamic across all chains. So you would be able to say your home chain would be Matic or Ethereum, and later you wanted to move to Avalanche or BSC or something like that, then you could easily just, we have a bridge. And as I said before, your tokens would be native and would not be wrapped. The second is what type of projects would be looking to cross over. I think that really it's the same objective that really anyone else or every other project here on this channel or the spaces would like to say is that we're all looking for projects that want to go cross chain. There's a lot of benefits for going cross chain. There's more, you get a larger user base, you get more liquidity, you get more overall activity, You aren't necessarily chained to the success or failure of one chain. Like, we've seen what can happen to one chain when things can go bad with Solana. That's just a short example. But there's just more benefits in general, in my opinion, for going multi-chain.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a really well thought out answer, and really excited that you're doing this, and also very happy that you're able to share that. Next, we could definitely hop to Veronica from SafePal. If you could just kind of tell us what you're building and how it supports a multi.
Hi everyone, it's great to be here. This is Veronica, CEO and co-founder of SafePal. So what we are building is a cross-chain, chain-agnostic, comprehensive wallet suites, including hardware wallets, mobile wallet, browser extension, or cross-chain, to allow users to secure, to manage, and grow their crypto wealth. So we have been building the products since 5 years ago. So we started 2018. So we just hit the 5th anniversary this February. So it's a pretty exciting journey. And to this moment, we are serving up to 10 million users global wide. It's kind of very exciting kind of milestones that we're hitting. We are open to all chain ecosystems. So we have supported 55 blockchains, actually 56, because we are going to release an update very soon. At the same time, so if you're using a SafePal wallet, you don't really need to care about switch network. We don't have such a concept of switch network. When you're using a SafePal wallet, it's just a wallet. It's a wallet that keeps all of the crypto in one place, and you can switch between different wallet accounts that you have. You can generate unlimited wallets, just like you are keeping the bank cards in your physical wallets. And we have cross-chain bridge, swap, and even trading experiences built into the product, so that you don't need to move elsewhere. You need to hop between different products or dApps, whatever, to complete those steps. We even have a localized DeFi supermarket called SafePal Earn. So it means that we are building DeFi protocols from different chains natively into the mobile app, so that you don't need to open a dApp in order to complete the DeFi process. You just do that in the wallet without hopping between different dApps and then switching the networks. So it's all organically and natively built into the product. So yeah, so from day one, SafePal is built with the gene of chain agnostic spirit, and we believe that the future is a multi-chain future. So we have been actively embracing that possibility, and we have been pushing the limits of the product design as well. So we will continue to add more new blockchains, and we are doing that, and also to enable a better cross-chain experience for our retail investors.
Super impressive on the user side. I think you mentioned you had over or approximately 10 million users. Could you talk a little bit about kind of that journey? Because I think in Web3 more broadly, users are very scarce. And so those numbers are definitely impressive, and would love to learn more about how you have kind of seen the growth of the industry over time.
Yeah, honestly, we still feel that right now the main thesis of user growth is still surrounding trading, because honestly, to this moment, even after 5 years, we are still seeing the main application on top of blockchain is cryptocurrency. And when we talk about volatile cryptocurrency, it's a typical speculative assets category, and people speculate over it. So trading activity would be the major activity surrounding it. So yeah, that it's interesting that we are seeing, for example, mirror assets, for example, real estate. We are also seeing NFTs popping up and also gaming. So these are some of the interesting scenarios that we are seeing. But honestly, right now, most of the growth and most of the marketing promotion strategy would be surrounding token speculations. That means all of the token airdrops, all of the, for example, the token-based kind of campaigns and quest campaigns. We are even seeing Web3 projects building on such kind of model, right? So we have hit certain milestones that really help us to scale. Like, for example, we kind of started with a hardware wallet that keep us going through the bear market in 2018 and 19. And then 2020, the DeFi summer came along that kind of saved us in a way, because that was when we witnessed the first explosion of the user growth. And then 2021, like NFT came along, and then all of a sudden people realized that they need a wallet instead of a CS account to keep their valuable NFT assets. And then we witnessed another growth. And then later on, metaverse came along, and then gaming came along. Like it kind of strengthened the whole ecological value proposition of wallet altogether. So we are happy and thrilled to see that wallet is becoming a more and more important gateway. And as we are seeing more applications on top of blockchain being built by builders and developers, it's only gonna strengthen the proposition of the wallet. So I think it's really the development and evolution of a blockchain that is helping to push us forward. But till this moment, honestly, all of the past growth and hypes that we are seeing in the user base mainly really come from the whole concept of speculative assets. So we are quite pretty kind of open and transparent about that. And even business model, the same thing. So yeah, that's how we see it. But I think the next 5 year would be very interesting because we are going to see a lot of applicational layer stuff that is going to really attract massive adoption among the internet users. And this is the time when we come and then we have a new group of users joining, not because of speculative token, but because of NFT, because of other on-chain kind of interactions or digital footprints that really kind of would be so fascinating, and wallet would become a major part of that. So yeah, we feel very excited about the future growth to be. That's how we are gonna see, and this is how we view the history happened previously, and also how we are gonna foresee the future.
100%. I definitely want to come back to some of the speculation assets, or more broadly, just kind of limited use cases in blockchains today. But before we kind of jump back into that, I would love Allbridge, if you could do a quick introduction, share a little bit more about what you're building and kind of how you see the multi-chain future evolving.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I'm Andrei. I'm co-founder and CEO at Allbridge. I really enjoyed Veronica's story about SafePal, and I seriously love the fact that you're combining app extension and hardware wallet. When you just started talking, I went to the website, went through it. It is seriously amazing. For me, it is really interesting to hear, and I would love to continue this discussion because back in the days in 2018, I used to work in the company that was building a non-custodial mobile wallet, but it never expanded to an extension or hardware. But I do seriously think that this part of the market is very cool. So thank you so much for sharing. Now about myself, I started Allbridge with my partner in 2021. And back in the days, it was not really called Allbridge, it was called Solbridge to represent that we had support for Solana from day one. And back in the days, a lot of projects that were launching on Solana ecosystem, they tried to put Sol in their name. Later down the road, we discovered that probably Allbridge better shows what we're doing, because right now we are supporting on our original mint and burn bridge 18 chains, with this number going soon to 20 chains. Our primary focus is connecting two non-EVMs. This is what we do. It's sort of our specialty. We've got a lot of non-EVMs. As I mentioned, we've got Solana from day one. We've got Native Near. We've got Ripple, Stellar, Tezos. All sort of the chains that you can imagine. We probably for non-EVMs we will have there. And for our second product, we decided to focus solely on cross-chain stable swaps, the native ones, because of our experience in building the bridges. We saw that for users, understanding of wrapped assets and how those wrapped assets are being transferred across the chains, it is sort of problematic. It leads to a lot of issues about user experience and liquidity fragmentation. So instead, we decided to work around that by connecting native stables here and there. And again, we utilized our experience in bridging non-EVMs. So apart from the traditional EVM stuff that you can find on, let's say, Stargate Finance or on other bridges that support cross-chain native stable swaps, we've got USDC on Solana, we've got USDT on Tron, which is sort of a rare find for the bridges. I think that mostly summarizes what we do. And of course, as a bridge, I'm part of this infrastructure layer that makes multi-chain future happen.
Amazing. Very cool. I guess definitely appreciate everybody's thought process around kind of like how the future is going to evolve. Definitely sharing a little bit more about each of yourself. I guess like when you look forward to the current state of like multi-chain future, even in like the past like year or two, one of the biggest kind of at least newsworthy events has kind of been the lack of security or the bridge attacks. Can you talk maybe a little bit to some of your thoughts around just some of these newsworthy events, and then how ultimately do you view multi-chain infrastructure today, and do you think over the long term, what is needed to kind of regain security in some of these aspects?
Should I start? Or
Go for it.
yeah, so like full disclosure, this Sunday, after 2 years of building bridges, I got hacked. And that has been traumatic experience. And now sort of living, this life of bridge after the hack, what do you do next? And I definitely don't think anyone would want to be in my shoes right now. But so far, we are trying to, settle down the situation. The hack was related to the mathematical formula that we used in the, the cross-chain swap bridge. And despite having numerous audits, we had 5 different audits from 4 different cybersecurity companies. We still got into this trouble. And before that, when being asked the question about the security, I was usually saying that, hey, look, we've been operating on the market for 2 years, running 2 different breaches, not being hacked because we heavily invest in the security. Now this narrative obviously changes because I need to acknowledge the fact that despite our best efforts, we still got in this situation. And truth is, I don't think that any project out there on the market can say for sure that they will never get into this situation, because protocols get hacked sometimes, and sometimes despite everything that you do, you still get there. So I think that more importantly right now is not to talk about how do you guarantee that you cannot get hacked, because I think that that's a sort of unrealistic, but rather than what do you do if you get hacked? And how do you make things right for the users? How do you reestablish business operations? How do you learn from things that happening? That is an important question. And I think that preparing in advance for this force majeure situation that you can, we got into and anyone else could potentially get into is the right question to ask. Maybe you can add something on that. I would love to hear more thoughts from other speakers, because from our experience, operating on a single chain alone raises a lot of security issues. But whenever you connect chains together, you've got whole more things to care and be worried about.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a challenging topic, and I feel like bridges, for a couple reasons, have had kind of a little bit tougher time with this than others. Maybe Nexa, if you could jump in and kind of share some thoughts about how you kind of view security in the bridging landscape,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I would like to pick it up from there because I think a lot of the viewpoints shared by Andrew kind of echoes with mine. I once asked by a host of another online event, is that what is the one thing that keeps you up at night? And I said, well, there's only one thing, that is us being hacked, right? So I think this is the worst situation that we can ever imagine. And there is a saying in my kind of past working experience, that is that the more codes, the more bugs. That you simply can't resist that. It's almost like a nature principle. It's almost like it's like a law written in it. Like the more codes written by human being, there will be more bugs inevitably. Especially we are seeing the bridge hacking cases starting from the early stage of projects building not kind of strong or not robust code base, and then gradually evolve into systematic holes that attackers kind of drain certain protocols, not because of something stupid that the protocol did, is because of some cross-chain or some other kind of interoperability issues caused by multiple protocols, and basically none of them did the wrong thing, but if we put them together, it leads to the giant leakage of the funds. So we are seeing this becoming a systematic issue, and it's definitely causing a large scale of like damage of user confidence. It's not just on the monetary level; it's also on the whole industrial confidence level. So I totally agree with what Andrew mentioned. That is not a single team. Like for example, even for SafePal to this moment, 5 years we are safe. We have been safely operating on the market, but no one can really guarantee that there's gonna be zero hack or zero vulnerabilities like found, whatever. And even to this moment, we are gradually keeping in touch with some white hat attackers and developers to help us to do some quick audits or reviews if we are going to launch some major updates. So I think what we can really do is to get prepared for everything. I mean, firstly on product, on developmental and strategy perspectives, get prepared and do the best. And then secondly, always kind of consider introduce third-party audits and partners who can really help you to look into things from different perspectives. I think that is really helpful, and we have been working with several labs throughout the years, and they've been doing decent jobs. And I think the last but not least, get prepared for a playbook when shit happens. So I think every team needs to get prepared, especially in Web3. Shit happens sometimes not because of you, because of some other kind of shitty moments. So always get prepared, and then from a marketing level, from a PR level, from a product level, do some exercise to kind of get prepared for such kind of bad moments. So I think that is also crucial, because we have seen so many teams doing very bad damage control after bad things happen. And in some cases, there are chances when they can win back the confidence from the retail investors, but they kind of fail to, simply because they are so poorly prepared for such kind of moment. And I believe that after witnessing and seeing all of those incidents, we should be all well prepared, and then to really get get us up. Even for example, exercise some on the team level, on the dev team level, and on a PR level, on different kind of level, to think about what would be the worst situation ever happening to your project, and then get some exercise surrounding that. So I think this is also quite important for us moving next. Yeah, especially for developers. What if the layer 1 and layer 2 of that you are building on top is hacked? This is just one of the example, right? And it's the same for cross-chain interoperability as well. So that is also why we have been super cautious of choosing our kind of data and product and dev partners, because right now nowadays, if you're building in Web3 for two years or 3 years, you are kind of super old man already. So we try to identify partners who have been building consistently and substantially since day one, since they are in Web3 space. And I think that is also tricky, because sometimes you could make the wrong choice. So by building that into the user experience. So that is also tricky. So that, I totally agree with all of the viewpoints that Andrew kind of introduced. Nobody can really guarantee that. What we can really do is to get prepared for the shitty moment, and then get prepared for everything that the worst can ever happen, and then hope for the best, of course. We do the best exercise that we could. We introduce third-party intelligence to help us to go through that process, and we make sure everything is transparent. So that's the best that we can do. But we are all human, right? Human beings make mistakes. So yeah, so that's from some of our kind of past experiences.
I would sort of agree with that. Sorry, just a few words, because I've been living this situation for the last couple of days. My suggestion is to be ready. Yes, I completely agree with Veronica. You should be ready for this situation to happen. And the second part probably would be honest with your community. So be open. So whenever bad things like that happen, the worst case scenario is you try to hide this. Don't do that. Go out, acknowledge that you've got a security breach, say what you're gonna do next, try to publish the updates regularly. That really helps to boost this sort of reassurance within the community that they know what you're doing and they know that you're handling the situation. Otherwise, the community is just going to panic, and that would make the whole situation even worse.
Yeah, definitely agree. At Tesla, they always, while I was there in my past life, they always said, communicate bad news quickly. It always sucks to kind of communicate the news, but it's even worse if you don't communicate it fast. Maybe Nexa, real quick, I mean, just jump in here, kind of add a little bit of your thoughts, and then I would love to transition the conversation a little bit to how you think the kind of the current state of the infrastructure is, and ultimately, like down the line, where do you see all these different blockchains kind of connecting, or how are they connecting, and what is that user experience like to the people actually using these blockchains?
Yeah. So for the first part, kind of all the hacking stuff, I totally agree with everybody else that was just speaking. I don't really think there's any true way at this point that you can ever prevent hacks. I mean, as everyone else said here, prepare for the worst overall is probably a good strategy, just because of when you work with all of these multi-chain protocols and you see these big honeypots of lots of liquidity being put in one area, it's just very attractive for hackers to go after. And we've seen that with some of the very big hacks with big protocols, big bridges. We've all seen that in the past, and I don't really think that that's really going to change. Unless you see, projects starting to give up some of the decentralization of their project, and maybe it's more centralized where they have more control over that. But again, you're really going to have to give something up, given the current state of things. As for the second question of where things are going to go with the multi-chain world, I think that's a pretty interesting question overall. I think that the future of dApps in a multi-chain future is really where a dApp is just operating and the user doesn't really know where the home chain of the dApp is. The user just trades or does whatever the dApp wants. It could be on a game, it could be a trading dex, it could be it could be a whole lot of things. It could be a staking or DeFi yield project, and the user doesn't know where the home dex lies, and the user is able to just operate on whatever home chain that he or she prefers, and is able to enjoy the dApp without really knowing what's on the back end. I think that's hopefully what the future will bring, and I think it's also important for overall. It's important for bringing the masses into crypto, in my opinion, just because the overall onboarding process is so difficult for many users. I mean, just even if you gave someone instructions that, hey, here's some Bitcoin, take this Bitcoin and start using a DeFi app, and the overall onboarding process and learning curve for someone totally relatively new to crypto is just very, very difficult. They have to take their Bitcoin, they have to bridge it, they have to learn how to deposit it onto some sort of DeFi app, and there's just many processes in terms of learning how to use an on-chain wallet and doing all this stuff. So I think that hopefully the onboarding process in that regard will improve, and hopefully the user doesn't really know what's going on in the back end.
Maybe just one question there. I definitely agree with the thought process of making everything seamless. I think one question that I always have in my mind is just whenever going from one ecosystem to another, sometimes, well, there are kind of, there exists kind of latencies when you do different things between one or another. How do you kind of think about some of the differences between the different ecosystems, uh, or do you think that the user will kind of is okay with waiting for some of these kind of longer confirmations if they get a better experience in the end?
I think it really depends on the app. Like if you're, doing like high frequency trading, or if you're like you need to go in and out of positions, like in general, DEXs in itself, that they're really difficult. I mean, for obvious reasons, like they're expensive with all the transactions. They take a while relative to a centralized exchange. I mean, I think that there's a long way for DEXs to go. You can see that maybe DEXs are starting to operate on their own app chains, and they're having like faster settlements and everything like that. But I think that in general, yeah, that's like a pretty tough question to ask. In terms of like where we're at today and where we'll hopefully be, I honestly don't know. Yeah, it's a really good question. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. Hopefully everything just gets faster and more secure. But again, I don't know how long that's going to take.
Maybe passing the mics to you, Albridge. Any thoughts like on the current infrastructure and ultimately like where you see things ending up?
So first of all, I would probably start with the comment on the previous on the previous question. So sometimes it is either security or the speed. So if we will, let's say, take the bridges, for example, the users are usually complaining and asking for faster bridging. Faster bridging, in turn, means that sometimes you need to sacrifice the part of the security that is related to the block finality. On some chains, the reorganization of the blocks can go, from my experience, I have seen that personally on Matic, they reorganize the chain after 150 blocks. Which means essentially that if you are trying to prioritize the speed for your users and acknowledge that the transaction has been there, and you are trying to do that as fast as possible, you can get into this fork that never happened and leaving the users unhappy. You see, the problem here is that the users, they don't really understand that. It is like they're pushing in the protocols to be faster and faster, but at the moment when something bad happens, they're asking, why you let that happen? And it is tricky balance. How do you really manage those things together? Now, in general, speaking about cross-chain applications layer and where the whole market is going, I would definitely say that for me, as the co-founder of the bridge, I see that the bridges would be getting less and less away from the eyes of the user, essentially becoming this real infrastructure layer where other protocols, DApps, are operating on top of the bridge. It is one of the examples that I really like, that imagine on a nice sunny summer day, you are getting into the car with your family and you are driving to the beach and you are crossing the bridge and it is toll road and you pay the toll for this road. I don't know, like €2, $2 whatsoever, depending on the part of the world you're in. But what is happening at that moment, you're not really caring about who built the bridge and you don't care who put their money and time into that. What you care about is you care about getting from one bank of the river to the other, so you can get to the beach and have some nice swim with your family. And that is exactly what's going to happen within the 1 or 2 or 3 years from now. I think that people coming directly to the bridge UI to actively operate the bridge, we would be seeing less and less of that, because what users are interested in, they are not really interested in bridging as it is. The users are interested in speculating, in cross-chain swaps, in cross-chain lending, in cross-chain arbitrage, in a lot of things that bridges enable, but users don't necessarily need to think about the concept of the bridging alone. And this is what my personal vision is of the future market for the bridges.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think my point of view, and anybody feel free to push back on this, is that a lot, the applications will be kind of the main drivers of the bridging from one chain to another, and the applications that are implementing these bridge are kind of going to be the ones that are abstracting it than the user purposely knowing that they're bridging from one to another. But that's kind of like a more kind of end state kind of in my point of view. But maybe like backing up a little bit, like Could each of you share a little bit? I mean, we got kind of on some of the infrastructure side, some of the user messages or users from interacting with the wallet side. But even on the application side, what metrics are you tracking internally, and how are those kind of going from like the last year to as they exist today in kind of the bear market that we're in?
Yeah, I think I can start from here because like we are a retail wallet, so we are serving retail investors. Okay, so one interesting about cross-chain is that like we learned a lesson from the user behavior, from the swap behavior that we're seeing, is that users don't really care about centralized or decentralized options. They care about convenience, cheap fee, and then like super easy user experience the most. And then like decentralized probably comes as the last one when they really need to consider and compare. So we are actually seeing a lot of the users choosing a cheaper option no matter what, for their bridging and swapping cross-chain kind of experience and orders. So for SafePal, like since we are non-custodial wallet, so we are mainly really just kind of keeping track of the total wallets, and then also like kind of app installation metrics and browser extension metrics, and also kind of sales volume, all those kind of metrics that we can already get by users installing our products, and we are also keeping track of, for example, the swap volume, and also the user's preference over like how they are choosing, for example, different options, and so that we can optimize from that. But it's all based on like kind of zero privacy data, like because we don't really keep track of too deep into like kind of personal information. We don't collect any KYC. We don't collect any email and all of those. So it's a very typical non-custodial wallet that we have. But honestly, I'm seeing it's becoming more challenging as the dApp builders and application builders continue to go deeper, because what typically internet Web2 internet companies do is they do need to keep track of user behavior data, so they can optimize and then iterate the products based on the user feedback, or even based on the user action before the users even talk to you. So this is a very kind of traditional model that we are seeing. But in Web3, while when people value more about privacy, about anonymity, it will be the upcoming challenge for a lot of the application builders. So even same for us at SafePal. So far, like we have been asked by a lot of other builders and founders and even VC and investors about like, oh, like what is the kind of some of the deeper data or metrics that you're seeing, but it's kind of embarrassing that we don't really keep track of those. So I think that is gonna be like an upcoming next challenge for if we are to build, for example, the next billion level of application for the massive internet users to jumping on board. And if this become a white heating competition among the wallet niche markets, then definitely the moving next would be like how we are gonna really optimize the user experience without touching too deep into the user behavior data. So right now we don't touch that, but we can't really tell for the future if there's any useful toolkits for developers, so that we can have a privacy layer that we can relay, and then like we don't really touch anything, but in some way we can understand like how users are really interacting with the products. So I think this is going to be the common challenge a lot of the application builders would be facing with. Yeah, so that's like sharing some of the 2 cents from our end. But yeah, that's basically it. So like right now we often have disputes and discussion about over how we're going to move on next, right? How we're going to better understand. So that's why we have built that kind of full-time customer support team. We have an internal workflow simply for collecting feedback, so we can funnel and collect all of the feedback from Discord, Telegram, customer support, Twitter, like all of the possible channels that we can find. And we even have a full-time member screening and on the radar of different kind of rating websites like Google Play App Store, Trustpilot, Glassdoor, all sorts of rating websites, so that we can actively collect all those feedback, and we can keep our radar kind of as sensitive as possible, because these are all of the open data out there available. addressing to SafePal directly. So that's how we are addressing it to that kind of level. But I'm not sure whether it's a really effective way if we are moving to the next stage of serving like another 500 million or even like a billion user kind of jumping on board. So yeah, definitely a challenging kind of question, and definitely a very challenging situation for a lot of the Web3 builders in the space, especially for applicational level. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Go ahead, Light.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, there's so much said there, but like I really resonate with a lot of the things that you said. And I guess like we could open it up for questions. So I already see a few people are requesting, but I have a question, just right off the bat for SafePal when it comes to, because you briefly did kind of touch on like competition for wallets and stuff. How do you feel, or how do you see yourself kind of being like like the option that people should choose or should flock to? I can already think of one example, which would be like the hardware wallets, which I think are really cool. But would love to hear it in your own words.
Yeah, we are like SafePal is one of the few wallet brands out there that supports all three types of wallets. So honestly, we don't really care which type of wallet people choose. We just make sure we build a safe and reliable product that people can manage their not kind of decentralized assets. So that's why we gradually started from hardware wallets. We built an offline device that only communicates through with the, for example, the SafePal mobile app via encrypted QR code, like we call it air gap signing. And then a year later, we have a mobile app. And then last year, we launched the browser extension. So we are seeing users comfortably using different types of wallets developed by SafePal, and they are actually connecting them together. Like for example, we are seeing a large chunk of SafePal browser extension users actually previous app user, because we do support a feature that allows you to connect your existing SafePal app wallet with the browser extension so that you don't need to expose your private key or seed phrase anywhere. You don't need to set up, for example, a new set of seed phrase in order to use the browser extension. It automatically enables you to scan the QR code and then connect your existing SafePal wallet to the browser extension, and by only is like kind of syncing the wallet information instead of the private key or the seed phrase. So that's like we are seeing a big chunk of user choosing that way. So they have the convenience of using the mobile app while they can explore seamless desktop experience by going to different DeFi protocols. So like that's the product philosophy that we have. And so like as it comes for cross-chain and it comes for bridging, that's the same philosophy that we have. We only care about the results. The result is people care about cheap, fast options to swap their money across chain. Like they need to go cheap and fast. And as easy as possible. So we just focus on that. So we built all different sorts of options into the wallet and we kind of displayed it transparently. For example, the cross-chain swap. If you choose different token pairs, there are like at least like 2 to 3, I think max 4 right now. We are adding more options for you to choose, and we kind of display the whole fee structure for you. You just go ahead, like you want the faster one, then go for the faster one, but probably the fee will be higher. If you go to a cheaper one, there are also available options for you to choose, and we do recommend based on the real situation. And like people get to choose when they use different kind of features inside the wallet. That's how we are building it. So we are aggregating all sorts of things and together in one place. So it saves all of the hassles and the hurdles, like of moving, like hopping back and forth between different dApps, between different H5, between different kind of browser and all sorts of things. So we try to connect everything together. So that's kind of something that we are building. So I think the future definitely is multi-chain. I really like the topic that we put here for the space today, that the future is multi-chain. We strongly believe in that. So we kind of embed that kind of mindset into the product designing from day one.
Thank you so much for like that's a really good answer in my opinion, and super well thought out. I think the future definitely is multi-chain, especially when it comes to what SafeFile is doing, and just the fact that it's built for retail makes a lot of sense to me. Does anybody else have questions? If not, I do have another question to pop out, but I'll let someone else go. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I guess the last question to kind of wrap up here, and maybe we can just go around. What is something that you guys are looking forward to with the projects that you're building in the future? Maybe it's a specific thing or a new feature that's coming out, but yeah, we can kind of just go around and talk about that, starting with Nexa, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I think we're really excited to continue building our cat minting for NFTs. I think that that's one area and one I guess one sector that really could have a lot more cross-chain activity. We're seeing a lot more of that recently with some big collections moving cross-chain, but I think that that's probably going to continue. Could be a wrong thesis, but I think that communities won't necessarily just be tied to one chain. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of that. So more minting with NFTs is something that we're really happy and excited to build.
Yeah, I really got to say, it's such a fascinating concept and idea, especially since, like NFTs, for example, are super new technology. I really see something like that just making a lot of sense in the future when people are able to just seamlessly launch their collections anywhere they want. It's really cool. I like it a lot. And then, yeah, we can go to Albridge.
Yeah, sure. So for bridges, the development process, the roadmap, it is usually pretty much straightforward, like better user experience, better features, better integrations, better API SDK. So for partners, it is easier to integrate the bridge under the hood, more chains, more assets. But apart from this quite obvious stuff, or at least it seems obvious to me, there is one thing that I've been really thinking a lot after the FTX collapse. Thing is that a lot of my friends were using centralized exchanges as the place where they kept their treasury or part of their treasury. And the reason for that was that they were paying people, they were paying employees, they were doing salaries, transfers from the centralized exchange to everyone who worked in the company. And the reason for them to do that was that they wanted a sort of reasonable privacy layer, because you don't want people in your company to know how much treasury you've got, because it is sort of private information, it's sensitive information. And more importantly, you don't want people to know how much each other of them earns, which is again is a sensitive information. So what I've been thinking on since autumn last year, and I'm really looking into that, is there a way to combine the cross-chain bridge functionality, stable transfers with reasonable privacy? And by reasonable privacy, I mean that. So let's say the project decides to keep the treasury in USDC on Ethereum, which probably would be considered the golden standard, or at least it was until we've seen those issues with Circle. Now, let's imagine the situation when, while keeping treasury on Ethereum in USDC, we still want to distribute the funding to the people on a faster and cheaper chain. In our case, that's obviously going to be Solana. Now, can we make sure that we have proper encryption of cross-chain messaging, ensuring that we can send the funds across the chain in bulk transactions, using the bridges, using existing infrastructure that is out there on the market, and at the same time, do sort of make the safeguard that this technology cannot be used by bad actors, so it does not turn into cross-chain tornado cash, which by no means I think any reasonable project on the market would want. And that is something that really has been intriguing for me, and that I have been prototyping for 4 months already. I'm not yet ready to say that we have solved this problem, but it is an interesting problem to solve.
Absolutely love it. And last but not least, Veronica, what is one thing about SafePal that you're really looking forward to?
We are building a seedless wallet. Big shout out. So we are still looking, fingers crossed. Plans might change, but we are building something that can onboard users frictionlessly into our wallet. So we do are actively looking into that. Yeah. And last second shout out is that we are hiring. So do check out at career.safepel@safepel.com. Drop a message if you're ever interested. We're looking for a content creator. We're looking for social media person. We're looking for product person. Like, yeah, we are growing. So do pin us if you're ever interested in joining to shape the next kind of future of wallet.
Awesome. And I'll just include it from Orca's end. I think really excited about all the features here, from abstracting away the complexities from the user to improving privacy and security across the board. I think for Orca, generally since Orca's launch, we've been pretty committed to Solana. And I think for the next couple of quarters, the main focus will be to try and make Solana the hub for trading activity and really just any activity that users want to do, even if they're on a different chain. So yeah, I think it's just going to be basically trying to make Orca the best liquidity layer and building up liquidity for a lot of other assets that all of you guys support. So users can trade on a chain that is really fast, does have a really good UX, and does have sub-penny transactions. And I think that's a pretty strong differentiator for Solana as an L1 and hopefully Orca as well. But super excited to see all the progress being made on bridges.
Awesome, everybody. Logan, did you have anything to add?
No, I think it's just been a super awesome conversation. As always, appreciate Orca for hosting these. I mean, the future in blockchain is very bright. Obviously, we're kind of still early. A lot of the technology solutions that we're trying out do have some kind of bugs, but I think as we talked about, like, we're rapidly learning kind of how to minimize those as much as possible, being able to effectively grow our user bases, be able to kind of scale the industry, and ultimately, I mean, I think it starts with kind of the wallet application and ultimately the developers building these apps on top of kind of these base layers. And so I think it's an exciting point in time where there's relatively few users. There's a vast open sea that anybody can kind of build upon. So no, just really enjoyed the conversation and enjoyed hearing from all the other speakers on this panel.
Thank you so much for inviting. Real pleasure speaking with all of you. Thank you for gathering such an amazing crowd. Always happy to be here. And yeah, just thank you again.
Awesome. Before we wrap up, Joshua, I don't know if you had a question. I know you were posting some comments. So yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, I have a question about the Nexus. I think is it the same thing they did with Bonk? I was checking his page and I saw that Bonk is now what's it? That's to Nexar network rather. So I have that question, and also do they plan on probably launching their own token and NFTs, not just providing services? That's all.
I'm sorry, my voice thing or my app bugged out for a sec. I couldn't catch all of that. Could you repeat that, please?
All right. What I was saying was that do you plan on providing the service? You know, you said you were talking about making tokens and NFTs to be cross chains and all that. So I was asking if you plan on creating your own token and NFTs in the future or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for repeating that. Yes, we will plan to have the Nexa token out. We don't necessarily have a exact date or plan on that, but there likely will be a Nexa token in the future. Yep.
No, that means we're super early, because I checked I've not heard of it before. This is the first time I'm hearing of it.
The space is alpha.
Awesome.
With Bonk, I checked your page and I saw. Can you? I checked and I saw one more crypto, and I saw that Bonk was now what's the name? Bonk is now sorry, excuse me. Let me check. Bonk is now available on Apto, Arbitrum, Polygon, BNB Chain, and Ethereum. So I was like, is that like a test run or something?
Sorry, again, my thing was cut out. You're asking if there was a test run with a token?
Bonk,
I'm sorry,
Bonk.
I couldn't hear it.
With Bonk.
Oh, Bonk. Oh, no. We weren't working with Bonk, but I mean, that's smart with what they did. They were going all over every chain.
Awesome. Well, really enjoyed the spaces. Thank you again, everybody, for coming out, and thank you for Orca for hosting these. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys so much for coming out, and yeah, let's all talk soon.
Thank you. See
Thanks,
you
guys.
around at some corner of the world. Stay safe.